Look at me. Look at me. I got to be honest with you right now, because I see the faces. I see the confusion. I see the heartache. And listen, I know you've been trying to figure it out. You've been trying to make sense of something that just doesn't line up. You got that little knot in your stomach, that little whisper that says, something ain't right here. And you keep trying to smooth it over. Keep trying to put a pretty bow on a situation that is fundamentally messy. You keep doing that for him. But when are you going to do that for you? I'm talking about the 5 toxic behaviors of him you absolutely should not ignore. This first one, y'all, this is the one that gets me. This is the one that is so subtle, so slick, and so damaging that by the time you realize what's happening, your whole reality is upside down. We call this Varster, the master of the blame shift, the eternal victim. This first one, y'all, this is the one that gets me. This is the one that is so subtle, so slick, and so damaging that by the time you realize what's happening, your whole reality is upside down. We call this the master of the blame shift, the eternal victim. Now, I want you to look at the man you're dealing with. When things go wrong, when there is a disagreement, or when he simply falls short of his responsibilities, where does the fault land? If that blame lands on you every single time, you are dealing with a man who has perfected the art of the blame shift. He is what I call the eternal victim. The game of no accountability, see, the relationship game is about partnership, right? It means when the car gets a flat tire, you both get out there and figure out the jack. But when you're dealing with the eternal victim, the tire is flat because you distracted him when he was driving. He didn't lose his job. The job was against him. He didn't forget your birthday dinner. You didn't remind him clearly enough. The food is cold because you asked too many questions on the way home. It is always, always, always someone else's fault. And let me tell you why this is so toxic. First, it means he has zero emotional maturity. A real man, a grown man, understands that failure is part of life, and taking ownership of your mistakes is how you learn and grow. When he refuses to accept responsibility, he's telling you, I am a child, and I need an adult to manage the consequences of my decisions. And guess who that adult is? It's you. He makes you his emotional caretaker, cleaning up his messes while accepting the blame for the mess he made. The twist. Turning the mirror on you, the second part of this, is the master level of the blame shift. He flips the script. You walk in there trying to have an honest, vulnerable conversation saying, honey, I was hurt when you forgot to call me. And what does he do? He doesn't say, you're right, I messed up. He says, well, if you weren't so needy and didn't check up on me so much, maybe I'd feel more respected and want to call you. Boom. Just like that, you are no longer the one bringing up a valid issue. You are now the one on trial. You're on the defensive, trying to prove you're not needy or too sensitive. And you completely forget why you walked into the room in the first place. You end up apologizing for his lack of effort, his irresponsibility, or his mean spirit. He gets to feel sorry for himself for being misunderstood. And you get to walk away feeling like the crazy one, the problem, the nagging girlfriend, or the impossible wife. The cost to your soul, listen to me, because this is where the healing starts. This pattern is not just annoying, it is destructive to your mental health. When you are constantly forced to absorb blame that isn't yours, 2 terrible things happen. First, you start doubting your own reality. You start thinking, maybe I am too much. Maybe I am the reason we fight. This is called gaslighting, baby, and it's poisonous. It makes you feel unstable, uncertain, and anxious. Second, it cripples your peace. A healthy relationship is a safe harbor. This toxic dynamic turns your relationship into a courtroom where you are always the defense attorney and the defendant constantly fighting a case that was never yours to begin with. You spend all your emotional energy trying to fix something that can only be fixed when he decides to get up and be a man who takes accountability. You deserve a partner who stands next to you and says, "Oh, we messed up," or even better, "My bad. Let me fix it." A man who can't say those three words, "I was wrong," is a man who will never be truly responsible for you, your happiness, or your future. You can't build a strong house on a cracked foundation, and a man without accountability is the weakest foundation there is. You better see that sign for what it is. All right? Let's dig into the second sign, because this one is a silent killer in a relationship. It's the tactic that drains your energy, plays on your biggest fears, and turns your peaceful home into a cold, empty stage. This is the silent treatment specialist, emotional blackmail. Now, I want to be clear, I'm not talking about a man saying, "Honey, I need 5 minutes to cool off before we talk." That's maturity, that's a timeout. I'm talking about a man who, when he's mad or he feels cornered, he doesn't use his words, he uses his absence as a weapon. Silence is a weapon, not a solution, this man. He's the silent treatment specialist. When a conflict comes up, when you bring an issue to the table, or when he simply doesn't get his way, he doesn't discuss it, he doesn't debate it. He gives you the cold shoulder. He walls himself off. He becomes a ghost in the very room he occupies. He doesn't just stop talking, he stops seeing you. He stops answering texts. He walks past you like you're invisible. He turns the thermostat down on the entire relationship until it is freezing. And he does this for one reason and one reason only, to make you cave. It's not a pause for peace. It's a power play. It's emotional blackmail. He is saying, without using a single word, I will only resume being your loving partner when you stop bothering me, when you stop bringing up my shortcomings, and when you apologize for daring to question me. Think about that, ladies. He has weaponized the most basic human need in a relationship, connection. And he is holding it hostage. He makes you responsible for solving the conflict, even though he's the one who took the ball and went home. The cost of chasing, the toxicity of this behavior, is that it forces you into the role of the chaser. You know how it goes. The tension builds. The silence in the house is so loud it makes your teeth hurt. You can't eat. You can't sleep. You're asking yourself, what did I do? How do I fix this? I just need him to talk to me. So you start doing the work. You apologize even if you're not wrong. You leave little notes. You try to cook his favorite meal. You try to initiate physical closeness just to break the ice. You are literally begging for the bare minimum of communication. And when you finally break and you say, "Okay, I'm sorry, let's just move on," he gives you a little sliver of his attention back, just enough to reinforce the lesson. He taught you that the quickest way to end the pain is to abandon your feelings and surrender to his terms. This creates a cycle where your peace and stability are entirely dependent on his mood and his willingness to engage. You walk on eggshells because you know that asking a simple question about the bills or his whereabouts could trigger the deep freeze. And you just can't take that coldness anymore. Your soul is not a hostage. Let me tell you something, a relationship built on communication and respect will never require you to beg for basic dignity. When a man resorts to the silent treatment, he is refusing to be a partner. He is refusing to do the hard work of conflict resolution. He's showing you that he prioritizes controlling you over connecting with you. A man who uses silence as a punishment is showing you that he doesn't value your emotional safety. He is willing to inflict emotional distress just to win an argument or avoid accountability. Your words matter. Your feelings matter. And when a man tries to mute you by making you pay an emotional price, just to hear his voice again, you are being held hostage. You need a man who will stand in the fire of disagreement with you, not run out and slam the door. You deserve a conversation, not a consequence. You deserve a man who uses his mouth to communicate, not his distance to manipulate. Don't let him teach you that your peace is less valuable than his emotional laziness. Break the cycle, y'all. Let's move to the third behavior, because this is where a man starts stealing something far more valuable than your money or your time. He starts stealing your shine. This is the constant critic eroding your confidence. I'm talking about the man who doesn't cheer you on. He corrects you. He doesn't encourage your dreams. He pokes holes in them. He doesn't see your beauty. He points out your flaws. And he's so good at it that he'll convince you he's doing it for your own good. It's not helpful advice. It's control listen. Everybody needs honest feedback. If your skirt is caught in your underwear, your man should tell you that's love. But this is different. The constant critic operates on a fundamental level of dissatisfaction with who you are. It might start small. You get a new hairstyle and he says, "It's nice, but the old one made your face look thinner." You come home excited about a promotion and he says, "That's great, but you know your coworker, Susan, she got a better title, right? Are you sure you negotiated well enough?" He can't just let a compliment exist. He can't let you have a moment of genuine pride. He always has to add that little piece of sand to your smooth concrete, creating that rough, grinding friction. And he hides it behind the phrase, "I'm just being honest." No, baby, he's not being honest. He's being controlling. He's trying to manage your self-perception so you don't realize how great you actually are without him. He is intentionally, systematically bringing down your emotional stock value. Why he needs you to shrink? Why does a man do this? Because his own sense of self-worth is low. He's walking around feeling insecure. And instead of building himself up, he finds it easier to tear you down to his level. He needs you to believe that you're not quite smart enough, not quite pretty enough, and definitely not strong enough to make it without his guidance. Think about it. The more confident you become, the more successful you become, the bigger your circle of friends gets, the smaller his control over you becomes. Your success highlights his stagnation. Your light exposes his shadow. So he has to dim your bulb. He uses that constant criticism like a slow drip of poison. It attacks your spirit slowly until you start saying, "You know what, he's right. I should probably stop trying to start that business. I probably shouldn't wear that dress. I really am too loud when I laugh." You start editing your own joy to make him comfortable. That right there is the most toxic part of this behavior. He forces you to become your own worst critic using his voice. The mirror of self. Doubt I need you to understand that a man who constantly criticizes you is not interested in your improvement. He's interested in your dependency. A man who truly loves you, a man who respects you, will stand up and say, "Go get it, baby. I got your back." He doesn't look at your flaw and magnify it. He looks at your potential and celebrates it. You should be able to walk into your home and feel safe, validated, and seen for the beautiful, intelligent, capable woman that you are. But with the constant critic, your home becomes a hostile environment where your self-worth is under constant attack. You start checking your hair in the reflection of the toaster before he gets home. You rehearse your stories before you tell them to him. You are in a permanent state of audition, and you will never pass his test because the goal of the test is not to pass. The goal is to keep you studying. You don't need a critic. You need a cheerleader. You need a man whose presence makes you feel taller, not smaller. If he's chipping away at your confidence, he's not building a future with you. He's building a cage around you. Don't you dare let him finish the lock. Now we come to point number 4. And this one is tough because he's right there, but he's really nowhere at all. This is the behavior that steals the most precious thing you have, your future. This is the fence sitter, the commitment-phobe with benefits. Look, you're in a relationship, you're doing the work, you're spending the time, you're giving your heart, your loyalty, and your weekends. Everything feels like a relationship, except for the things that matter. You're sharing holidays. You know, as mama, you pay half the rent. But when you ask, where is this going? Or what are we building? He gets that deer, and the headlights look and starts stuttering. The illusion of progress. The fence sitter is a master of the illusion of forward movement. He wants all the perks of a husband without having to be a man who commits. He wants the home-cooked meals, the emotional support, the consistency, and the companionship, but he refuses to give you the one thing that validates your investment, a title and a timeline. He will introduce you as his laddie, or simply, this is how your name, avoiding the word girlfriend, because that word implies an agreed-upon structure. It implies that there are rules. It implies that there is an end goal, and that's the problem. His plan is to keep you exactly where you are, in the indefinite holding pattern. He keeps you close enough to satisfy his needs, but far enough away that he can still feel like he has options and hasn't closed any doors. He's got one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. He's driving your relationship, but he's going nowhere fast. The benefit trap. This dynamic is toxic because it turns your sacrifice into a simple transaction. He's receiving your benefits, your time, your intimacy, your stability, and he's paying for them with potential and vague promises. He might say things like, we're basically married anyway, labels don't matter. It's a translation, I want the marriage benefits, but I don't want the marriage responsibilities. I just need to focus on my career right now, and then we can talk. It's a translation. Your future with me is less important than my immediate goals. My last relationship moved too fast. I don't want to mess this up. Translation. I'm using my past to justify my present lack of action. Don't fall for the language, y'all. Labels absolutely matter. Titles create boundaries. Commitment is the currency of seriousness. If he is not willing to spend that currency on you, he is telling you loud and clear that your relationship is not a priority. It is a convenience. The shelf life of hope, the most damaging thing the fence sitter does is put a shelf life on your hope and your time. As a woman, you have goals. You have a vision for your life. You know what you want to be building by a certain age. A family, a home, a true partnership. This man knows that too. And he is banking on the fact that your desire for a future with him will keep you tethered to his indecision. He is allowing you to invest your prime years, your emotional energy, and your fertility, if that's your plan, in a relationship that he hasn't even agreed to fully participate in. He is watching you pour your best self into a vessel that he refuses to seal. And listen, one day, he might commit. But it will happen when he is ready, not when you are worthy. It will be on his terms, when he has exhausted all his other options, or when the fear of being alone finally outweighs his fear of commitment. You deserve to be chosen because you are the right woman, not because you are the last woman standing. You need to decide right now, are you a placeholder or are you a partner? A real man defines his space, honors his woman, and articulates a vision for the future with you. If he can't do that, he's showing you that he's a boy with a toy, not a man with a plan. You are not a maybe. You are definite. Act like it. I've given you 4 signs, but this last one, ladies, is the most crucial because it attacks the sacred space of your self-respect. This is the disrespecter of boundaries, the slow intruder. A boundary is simply a line that you draw around yourself that says, this is who I am, this is how I deserve to be treated, and this is what I will and will not accept. A healthy man sees that line and says, understood. I will respect that boundary because I respect you. But the disrespecter of boundaries, he sees your line and views it as a challenge. He doesn't attack it with a sledgehammer. He attacks it with a drip, drip, drip of disrespect until your whole dam breaks. The erosion of no. This toxic behavior isn't about one big, dramatic violation. It's the constant, subtle erosion of your personal sovereignty. Think about the small things. He does that chip away at your right to say no. You tell him you need a Friday night to yourself to recharge, and he shows up at your door unannounced, saying, I was in the area, and I figured you needed company. When you're upset, he makes you feel guilty for being unwelcoming. You tell him your phone is off, limits because you value your privacy, and he grabs it to check the time and scrolls through your messages when you're in the shower. His excuse. If you had nothing to hide, you wouldn't mind. You tell him you absolutely cannot handle loud arguments in front of the children or your family. And the next time he gets mad, he raises his voice and puts on a show in the middle of a public restaurant. He doesn't hear your no. He hears your maybe, if I push hard enough. He sees your boundaries not as rules, but as obstacles he has the right to navigate around. He wants you to believe that in a real relationship, boundaries shouldn't exist because you two are one. Don't fall for that foolishness. 2 halves of a whole still have their own skin. The reason for the intrusion. The man who violates your boundaries is not doing it because he loves you so much he can't be away from you. He's doing it because he needs to establish dominance and control. He's testing you. He's checking to see how far he can cross the line before you push back. And every time you let a small violation slide, the slight pressure to drink more than you want, the insistence on choosing all your friends, the forced intimacy when you're tired, you teach him a dangerous lesson. My now is negotiable. Once he realizes your no is negotiable, your entire relationship becomes one-sided. You are no longer an equal partner. You are merely a territory that he is allowed to occupy without permission. He starts making decisions that affect your life without consulting you because he's already tested and dismantled your power. Your peace is the perimeter. Let me tell you something personal. Your boundary is the perimeter of your peace. If a man can't respect the line around your personal space, he cannot possibly respect your future, your dreams, or your value. Because boundaries are the minimum requirement for respect. When you allow a man to repeatedly disregard your limits, you are sacrificing your own integrity for the sake of keeping him around. You are teaching yourself that his comfort is more important than your conviction. And trust me, ladies, the price of that compromise is steep. It costs you your peace, your certainty, and eventually your self-worth. A man who truly loves, you will guard your boundaries like a treasure. He won't peek into your phone because he trusts your character. He won't pressure you because he respects your body. He won't show up uninvited because he honors your need for space. If he keeps intruding, he is telling you he is not a partner. He is a dictator. It's time to stop shrinking the fence and start hardening the border. Your no is a complete sentence. Your peace is non-negotiable. Don't let him invade your territory.